I'm working my way through some additional stitches in the Techniques for Teneriffe Lace book that I downloaded for free. I'll include the link. I think the author's last name is Stillwell. And it's on page 62 and 63. And the one we're working with today is often referred to as the herringbone stitch, I think, or the Russian stitch or something like that. She calls it a looped interlacing, and all it is just a filler to fill in an area with color or just to make it more solid. So I'm going to be working in filling in this area right here, not this first big ring, but the second one. So I'm going to be using the bars between the knots from the top to the bottom. So I'm going to be zigzagging. She demonstrates it in sections that are knots with rectangles. So for mine, I bundled the alternating threads, so I've got these little V shapes in here. So, but you can do it either way, but I'm going to be zigzagging back and forth. And according to the picture, she's going under the bar and over the working thread. So that's really all you have to remember. And she's working from left to right. The way I learned it is from right to left. So either way is going to be fine. And you're going to be creating these little cursive E's, and then you've got them upside down and zigzagging back and forth. So let me attempt to get this started. So I am going to start out by going over one of these sections right here like this, and then I want to go, actually let me anchor my thread in a different area so I can work right here. So normally you would you'd already be sewing with this thread, but I'm using a contrast so that it'll show up. So I'm going to go over this triangle here. I'm going to go under a bar, and the bar is between these two knots here. I'm going to go over the working thread and then out. So that's my first little E shape right there, first little loop. And it's a little twisted loop. At first I was a little confused, and I was ending up making knots because with a Teneriffe lace knot, you're taking your thread under and then you're coming through this closed loop here, so you end up making a knot. We're not wanting our thread to ever turn into a knot. So the next bar that I'm going to use is going to be at the top. So this is the bar that's between these two knots right here. So I'm just going to get my thread up there, and you can turn your loom if you want to. I'll try to keep it straight so it'll show up better, but that's not normally how I do it. I usually turn my loom. So I'm getting my thread up and away, out of the way. Going to go under that bar and over that working thread, and then out. So that's going to create another little cursive E right there. And so there's my second loop. And it's kind of leaning in that direction. So now I'm at the bottom. So I've got my working thread over here to the left out of my way. I'm going to go under this bar that's between these two knots and over the working thread. This is the working thread that's coming off of the last little loop that we made. So I'm going under the bar, and over the working thread. And then I'm not going through that loop there. That's why you got to keep your thread out of the way. So I just tighten that up, and then I kind of pull it in the direction that I want to go. But I want to get rid of this loop so that I don't accidentally make a knot. So I'm going to turn my loom slightly, and so here's the bar and then the two knots. Alright, so I'm just going to get my thread out of the way, go under the bar and over that working thread. Going down to the bottom, over that bar, under the bar, and over the working thread. Straighten that out. Find your next bar that's zigzagging up, going under the bar and over the working thread. Always keeping your thread from creating a loop to trap your needle. So I've got all my thread down here at the bottom, out of my way, going under the bar, over the working thread. And so this time my thread is up here out of the way. It's a little tight and I'm usually holding this in my hand, so I'm under the bar, over the working thread, and over again. So on this side the stitches kind of lay over the top, but as I mentioned before in previous videos, we're working from the wrong side of our project. Obviously, if you do your knots and your joins and everything a lot neater, you could treat either side as your right side. But what this is going to create is, on the other side of the project, you're not going to really see this whole E thing. You're just going to see a little loop going around that bar, and you're going to see these stitches peeking out from the other side. So I'm going to continue around, and then we'll take this off of the loom. Alright, this is what it looks like from the wrong side. This is the side that we did all the stitches on. And then when you turn it over to the right side, and I've already pulled my thread through to the back, you just have a little subtle color showing through, and you can see a little bit of your laces there. If you want these loops to be on the right side, you can stitch your design, all of the other components of your design, take it off of the loom. As long as the edge is secure and the center is secure, your lace is not going to fall apart. You can take it off the loom, and then you can turn it over and then add these loopy designs on the front of your work if you want to. But I do like this little subtle color peeking out. So it's your choice of whether you want to work this stitch on the right side or the wrong side.